ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Propagandacast addendum with me, your host Imperial Dane, to you with some propaganda news. Well, Alex, with the tournament over, by the way, the War Paint Championships finally back at the whole balancing business, though of course with a bit of a caveat since the whole Dawn of War 3 thing being developed is also going on, meaning they don't necessarily have a lot of resources to fix everything. And of course, the good news is they have identified a lot of issues, and of course, funny thing, a lot of them, strange enough, look like Axes aren't performing very well. In particular, Wehrmacht seem to be struggling. And allies might in fact be overperforming. You got mortars overperforming, you got allied light vehicles overperforming, you got guardsmen overperforming, penal troopers overperforming. Starting to see a pattern here. And of course, German light vehicle counters not being good enough, though of course that rather goes before with the light vehicles overperforming, but also just Wehrmacht late game infantry not scaling very well into the later game. So, there's I probably also missed one. I always miss one. There'll probably be one I missed there. But, you can sort of see a pattern there. There's also one about the commanders, basically, not being very competitive, or at least, good enough, at least for the Soviet and the Wehrmacht, which also tends to be one of the most voted options for, in fact, alongside mortars. And you might ask, well, why are people voting for that? That's not really a balance issue. Well, the reality is probably it's a lot of the other options. Pretty much have some players going, well, Axes might, not be OP. So that's pretty much my personal suspicion as to why that one gets voted for a lot, though, of course, we can't confirm it. Personally, they end up voting for the mortar. I mean, yes, light vehicles are really, really, really nasty. Stewards, T-70s, ACs, but at the same time, USF and unless one of the more dominant ones, and if they go for double mortars, you're in a lot of problems, and, well, you can't telemark yourself out of that one. Still, you kind of can. Same with the AC, same with the T-70. I mean, I'm not saying, they're fine, and they do need a nerf, so that's something to come on. Also, keep in mind about this poll here, which they got running. I'll link it to the video description. I mean, it's not to say, we will only fix this one, and the rest will never, ever get fixed. Go to hell, you evil, evil Nazi scum, in particular you, Dane, which we are suspecting to be the second coming of Adolf Hitler. Of course, they didn't say that, but it's more a case of prioritization. Again, the resources are limited here at the moment with Dawn of 3 going on. So again, what do we want fixed first? And definitely fixed with no comebacks for sort of, other things, again, compared to other things. So that's, for example, there what's happening, basically. So again, mortars will likely probably be the first thing to just get fixed, and then they'll probably, focus on, the commander's bit, later down vehicles, and late scaling. I mean, some of the topics I'm not really sure on. For example, the Wehrmacht not scaling into late game. They do scale pretty well, at least for I'm concerned. The problem is less if they scale well. The problem what happens if you have to get them in the late game. And that's basically where they run into the problems when they run up against veteran rifle with the double BARs, or British section with double Brens, or Guardsmen with veteran fleet and double light machine guns. You're starting to see a pattern, aren't you? Again, or Sherman, so T-70. Again, a lot of things that basically can easily wipe the Wehrmacht infantry, and they don't really have the ability to really make an impact, which I think is largely due to the design of the Wehrmacht, which again runs a lot on the old Wehrmacht, but doesn't have a lot of the sort of, comeback mechanics and essentially the bounce back ability, which includes, not having then a tier 4 elite infantry, like the old one had, which was the Knights Cross holders. Here, there's a void, a gap, which I think is one of the issues that's sort of giving the Wehrmacht a bit of issue in the later game, but also make Tier 4 a bit more interesting to go for. I'll probably be making some more videos sort of covering those different topics with my thoughts on them. Of course, I'll say USF Mortar definitely needs to be nerfed. That thing is absolutely bleeding broken. Stewards definitely also in the very close to broken department, but at least they can't just sit back the Stewart at a far range, which does, I think, make it a bit more manageable in some sense. Still, I will say I hate the Stewart with a passion. T-70s, you can actually deal with it reasonably well with a 222, which tends to make the T-70 sort of... I mean, it still needs to be toned down, but it's not within the impossible range to deal with. And, the AC is also pretty damn nasty, because it just has a high damage output as well. But again, for some reason, it doesn't quite feel as nasty, though it is still damn nasty. So it's a bit, more tricky there, obviously. But again, I'll probably make a video so it comes to the topics, like for example, the one about the commanders. I've certainly got a lot of thoughts there. Probably also about the Wehrmacht infantry not scaling into the late game. Because again, I disagree then. Of course, I'll sort of get further into detail. Again, I think sort of given the highlights there already here in the video. So again, just a quick video. Again, I'll have the link to the poll in the video description, so you can self-go vote on whatever you think like. But again, it's great, finally something's happening in the balance department once the bloody War Paint Championship was over, and that's really one of the reasons I personally didn't really bother that much with it, because ultimately it meant we got stuck with this mess for 1 to 2 months extra than necessary, which is just really ugh. I really could do without that. So again, from I'm concerned, this is good news, and hopefully more good news will come out of it. So this is your bit of propaganda news. The balance front is finally rolling again. Hopefully it'll go somewhere a bit more pleasant this time. This is Imperial Dane signing off. Hope you liked it. And if you didn't, subscribe, like, share, and comment on it. This is Imperial Dane signing off for another time. Cheers.